times x minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the Rocket Hour, and we're here early, Ricky. I think we're here early because we're just so damn excited to talk about Saratoga last weekend, right?
You could say that. One could say that I also have a haircut appointment at 12, but there is a lot to get forward. I'm wearing my Racing Dudes hat because I felt it was a special occasion since we haven't been on the air since Wednesday. Right? Since Wednesday. I was kicked off Friday. But that's okay. We were all in the same room. You guys are doing blinkers off. So, yeah, I just figured bring the hat back out, special occasion. There's a lot to get into. Bella Sophia is going to be one of the things, one of the horses we get into. But, yeah, there's also I shouldn't say a product launch. An information launch might be the accurate way to go. I'll throw that to you before we get into this horse racing thing. You sent me a screenshot this morning of the website, racingdudes.com. And there's no racing that you sent me. I was like, this is interesting. Let me click into it. It was college football ACC previews. Why don't you tell everyone about that before we get into the horse racing thing? Obviously, we are 18 days away from the first college football game.
Yeah, so big news today, and this literally happened about 15 minutes before we went on the air. Racing Dudes Sports is officially live, a brand new site, racingdudes.com/sports is the site. So right now, if you go to racingdudes.com/sports, you'll get football previews for every ACC team out there. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to go, tomorrow will be the Big Ten, this weekend, the SEC. Early next week, the Big 12, the Pac-12 coming up, and then, of course, some of the littler schools as well. And then NFL last week, or next at the end of next week. So all the previews in the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to have something else that I want to announce right now. Tomorrow, a brand new Racing Dudes show will go live for the first time. It's going to be called the Dudes Who Bet Sports Podcast. That's coming up tomorrow. Papa Dude and I will be doing a weekly show covering everything about sports. This week we'll be talking about conference realignment. Next week, we'll go over our preseason top 25 college football. Next week, we'll talk about the NFL, and then we'll get into the games, and that'll be the big thing where we'll break down the games. It'll be a blinkers offish style where we'll talk about the big games of the weekend, and then Papa Dude and I will pick kind of 2 or 3 other games to talk about that. Maybe our lock of the week, our best bet of the week, and just the game we're most excited for, things like that. We're pumped. Papa Dude and I have been working hard on this. He is over the moon pumped. So a lot going on in the sporting world. I'm very thankful to have my dad that can write all the articles because, Ricky, you can attest, covering horse racing, I don't have time to write articles. I definitely have time to do a show or 2 a week. So very, very excited, and I can see a lot of people are excited. We got a lot of comments here. So racingdudes.com/sports. It's launched. It's brand new, and we're pumped about it.
Yeah, that's really exciting news. Hopefully maybe I can make a guest appearance on that. But no, in all seriousness, it is going to be awesome just to have more content on there. And it does work out, in terms of having your dad on because he just retired. So it's ironic he retires, and then that didn't last long, and he's right back with the site.
Background real quick about my dad. He's coached at the high school level for about 35 years, and he's coached football, he's coached basketball, baseball. So sports in my family, we just grew up just loving sports. At 24/7, my life has been based around sports. My dad and I have been OU season ticket holders. Why I threw this comment up here. My dad and I have been OU season ticket holders since 2000, and the funny thing about it is it's 4 hours to Owen Field in Norman, Oklahoma, but we've missed 2 games since 2000, 2 home games. So yeah, I mean, it's we're ready for this. We've always felt like, we could do something like this and it would be fun. But like you said, Ricky, we needed a guy to put a lot of content out, and we kind of got our guy. My dad's retired. He's sitting at home. He's watching sports 24/7. So I said, take it away. It's yours.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because I think we all could have contributed to it somewhat,
Mm-hmm.
but not to the degree that he'll be able to. And it's almost ironic. You guys, look, I guess if there's a market for Lithuanian table tennis, what I will say regarding some of these sports, some of these things were the only things out last year. There was Oaklawn, there was Gulfstream, and then there was table tennis, there was ping pong, there was all sports that you didn't really need a mask, and there was distance. So who knows? But what I will say before we end it, it is awesome to, I guess, have a Halterman member as well. But yeah, so again, racingdudes.com/sports, or you can go to racingdudes.com. Right under the main page there, there's that college football right there. Yeah, other sports.
Yeah.
And I guess if you click all sports and the college football thing, you're probably going to end up on the same thing at this point, since there is only one sport. But yeah, Syracuse football's no good. Syracuse football hasn't been good since Dwight Freeney, Donovan McNabb, and Marvin Harrison played.
But Ricky, if you want to read about Syracuse football, there it is. It's out there. My dad has a preview of Syracuse football.
Don't scroll down, but I can guess that no matter what, if your dad has watched Syracuse football, so outside of 2018, they had one good year. Since 2000, let's just say, he would be, and didn't watch any games, just saw the record, he'd be smart enough to know he did not give them more than 3 wins this season. So let's see what he did. I haven't
All right.
yet.
Scrolling down, 3-9.
Well, there you go. Your dad's off to a good start with me because the team is pathetic. Now we, briefly before we get into the horse racing thing, it's funny we were talking about you missing games, and obviously we don't count the COVID year against you. That there were no fans.
Right.
That doesn't count. 2 games, maybe I would be in that same boat because for me to Syracuse, it's about 4 hours. It's just not fun when you're losing to teams like Louisiana Lafayette and Ohio. So maybe I would be in the same boat if the team was good. But no, that's a great addition to the site again. Hopefully in the next week or so, everything's up there, all willing to go. There'll be previews. You guys will be doing your own You guys should have called it the Halterman Hour. I'm upset you didn't get that name together, but no, we do have a lot of horse racing to go over, though, because it was a great week. So I'll let you kind of roll us into that one.
Yeah, that's why you're here. You're here to watch horse racing. So yeah, if you want to come listen to sports, we'll have our own show, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of guests and things like that. But we are here for horse racing. That's what we'll do. Let me. I had it set up, and then I shared that. So let me get back to the horse racing part of it, because we do have a lot to talk about today, and it starts right there at Saratoga. So what we're going to do, we're going to quickly. Well, I don't know if quickly is the right word. We're going to talk about something that happened on Saturday that we will probably never see again in our lifetime, for sure. You never say never in life. But Steve Asmussen becomes the all-time winning trainer in North America. Stellar Tap, the 2-year-old, wins the race. 9,446 winners. He's going to surpass 10,000. Steve Asmussen is not done. This is going to go on and on. He's going to set the bar very, very high. This was probably the most special moment of the week for me. I'll let you start first, and then I'll kind of explain why it's special for me.
Yeah, again, it's weird. I was introduced to the game a lot longer than you, but you've obviously been much more involved to a higher level. So I don't know if that makes sense to people when you explain it like that. For me, Steve Asmussen wasn't really someone that I paid attention to because I was a big Naira guy. And for a long time, I mean, he does now much more than he did when I was growing up. But to kind of see, and again, you'll talk about it, to kind of just witness history that wasn't a horse is pretty special. Because when you go to the track, you kind of assume you're going to see history, and it's going to be because of a horse ran a great race, or unfortunately a horse lost a big race or something like that. But he was the true star of the weekend. And if you go to racingdudes.com, I believe the article is still up there, the 3 stars of the weekend. Magic, who writes that article, put Steve Asmussen number 1. And it was really great to see. He had 2 horses in here, the 6 Vodka Mardini, who was a shorter price, and the 7 Stellar Tap with Ricardo Santana Jr. If you follow this game, even at a remotely close level, not even like us, Ricardo Santana is his guy. I don't know if Ricardo Santana Jr. is married, but you could make the argument Steve Asmussen might be the best man. That's how close. Seriously, that's how close they are. It's kind of an 1A, 1B with those two, or 1A, however you want to say it. So it was really good to see that. And the even better part is that, Aaron, you didn't bring up, I didn't bring up, Jared didn't bring up, the horse was gone. It was nice to see this horse not have to battle it out. Kind of just, things really slow down in the moment. That's what I kind of took away from it from the horse perspective, right? And we could look at this horse saying, like, he's got real potential. And Stellar Tap might be, I'll leave it at this, Stellar Tap might be Steve Asmussen's best win just because of the way it went down. He will remember this horse forever. Even if this horse never wins a race the rest of his life, he will remember this horse just like it was his best because of the history. And it was cool that we got to see it on hand because I think he had 12 runners that day. And he probably would have done it. I mean, he didn't end up winning anywhere else. So it was kind of cool. But on paper, we were kind of scared that it could have happened at a smaller track. So it just all worked out perfectly. But I'll let you go on it because I know you have been following him for a lot longer than I have.
First time I ever went to a racetrack was 2007 Arkansas Derby Day at Oakland Park. Steve Asmussen won 5 races on that day, including the Arkansas Derby with Curlin. And the thing I kind of loved about it was he stood right with the crowd in all 5 of the wins. Like, he watches the races with the people. And I looked at my dad and I kept saying that, like, this guy trains a horse in the Arkansas Derby and he's just out here just kind of, messing around. It's not the right word, but just out here with us. He's like, yeah, that's where he watches the races. He's incredibly nice to the fans. He's incredibly gracious to anybody that wants to talk to him. I can't say enough good things about Steve Asmussen. He's a guy that truly gets it. I can definitely say there would be no Racing Dudes if there wasn't Steve Asmussen, because what happened was I got to where I really liked the guy. After he won 2, I was like, I'm going to bet him these next 3 times at Oakland. And of course, Curlin, and I followed Curlin around, and that helped kind of grow my, span of where tracks are and what kind of how it works. But following Steve Asmussen also helped with that because he ran at a lot of different tracks. And so I learned a lot about a lot of different tracks because of Asmussen. I was sweating bullets all week. I really didn't want him to break that record at Louisiana Downs or Ellis. Again, no offense, but Saratoga is the place that he needed to break it. So happy it happened there. The fans gave him his due, gave him the standing ovation as he was walking out of his seat and into the winner's circle. It was great. So, yeah, it was really special. Definitely wanted to start the show with that. A guy I've respected since day one, literally day one of me knowing about horse racing. So congrats to Steve Asmussen, favorite trainer, no doubt, and probably always will be. So was really excited to see him break the record there at Saratoga. It was fitting. All right, let's move on, Ricky, because we do have a ton to talk about. We can't talk about Steve forever. Let's just go one race, further up here, race 6. That started the stakes action on Saturday. The Fasig-Tipton Lure. Kind of some weird, shady shenanigans, should we say? Value proposition, loses a shoe before the gate, runs for purse money only. That was really weird. It kind of ruined the multi-sequences. Tell us your thoughts on that and then your thoughts on the race.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into why I wasn't at the rail with you guys, just because I'll be honest, I got a little lazy. Was watching this one on the TV. And I didn't really know what was going on. And, depending on where you are, sometimes it's tough to hear John and Brielle really explain. And I just heard running for purse money, but they didn't really say why. And then you told me that he lost his left front shoe, I guess maybe going into the gate or maybe when they were warming up or whatever it was. And I said, I don't think I've ever heard that before. For example, in harness racing, if there's an issue, they take you right back to the paddock area. They put a shoe on or adjust the equipment, and then they come back out. They don't have that luxury here because the paddock is pretty far away and things like that, or the barn area is far away. So that was interesting. You're right. But if we talk about the race itself, I mean, Flavius looked every bit of 6 to 5. Fantastic. I do want to hold off and say Flavien Prat is the best on the turf, because I do think it's interesting, right? He's so good out west that we kind of just assume would be the same here.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see him at a full meet, and I'd be willing to say I'd be wrong if he had the best turf numbers. I just think the competition, as you've eloquently said as well, is drastically different. It used to be like 1A, 1B. It's like 1A, 3F, like that to Saratoga to Del Mar. But he was great here. To be honest, I think all of these riders could have done exactly what he did. He got the horse to the lead. I think Flavius could be a graded stakes winner, depending on what field he catches. I'm not sure if he's grade 1, but it was a good effort here. The 3 didn't really fire. I don't know if that left shoe thing has a lot to do with it. I don't know anything about that. I'm not going to pretend to guess. But he did exactly what he had to do, getting on the front end. And when we did our group ticket, I guess he really could have been a single the way he ran, but we didn't know that ahead of time.
Yeah, very good ride by Flavian Pratt. Won 3 big stakes races at Saratoga this weekend. Came in and just did a great job. A great rider. As far as value proposition, I'm with Dennis. Scratch the horse or fix the problem. And I mean, it's a situation. I've seen horses lose shoes in the paddock, and that's a pretty easy fix, right? You kind of just delay it. But when they're right there at the gate, I know it would have been tricky. Fix the shoe, let him run. I mean, for the better's sake. I mean, yeah, Brown and the connection, sure. Yeah, we'll take him, run it. Who cares? We're not betting the horse, but they're trying to get that purse money, but you fix the problem. And I agree. It really did ruin the middle pick 5. And you look at the payout, you had the 21-1 horse, so we'll talk about it a little bit later. And the payout for the pick 5 is like 400, 450. And we had a couple favorites lose as well. It's terrible. You either fix it or you scratch him, and that's just how it is. And yeah, I hate purse money only as well. And the other thing is, we were kind of talking for our group ticket that we had. What if value proposition runs really well, wins by a couple links, and then like a horse we didn't have finishes second and we lose our bet? I mean, it's just like that just leaves a terrible taste in your mouth. Now, in this situation, that didn't happen. And everybody was alive after this race that had the 3, because you get the favorite and the favorite won. So it's not like people lost out on their tickets, but they lost out on their payout potential, big time here. So I hated it. I thought it was dumb, but what are you going to do? All right, let's move on. I don't want to talk about that one anymore because it just pisses me off. So let's move on to, I would say maybe the second best performance of the weekend. I don't know, maybe not. It's probably debatable. But Warlike Goddess, last early, rushed home late, wins the Glens Falls by 3 1/4 length, and it was never in doubt once they rounded this corner. Ricky, what did you think of Warlike Goddess?
I thought Warlike Goddess was like domestic spending. I thought domestic spending was running in this race with just a different saddle cloth. Dead last early on. The pace, I mean, it was 49 flat to the half. I mean, modest, right? I mean, it wasn't fast. Boy, was she much the best. And it had that domestic spending feel, right? Like, kind of once she made that kick, it's like, all right, well, we're all fighting for second or third or whatever. I said this to you immediately. I was like, she could have gone. I mean, this was 1.5 miles. She could have gone another 4 furlongs. She looked like she was just getting going.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty incredible. I think the biggest thing to know, and maybe you could touch on the race itself, but I don't have much to say. She was 4 to 5 favorite and almost shorter than that. There was a reason Julien Leparoux came to ride. When you see riders that you don't really know with quality connections, Bill Mott, which is obviously great trainer, with connections you don't know jockey-wise, pretty good reason that if it's a different trainer, a trainer that's not so great with different rider, different story. Great trainer with a rider you're not sure about. Pretty good reason Julien Leparoux made the trip. I don't know how many mounts he had that day, but we know he had this one. And this one was worth the trip for sure. So that's the only thing I would add, just from a handicapping pace note, if you're just not really sure what to do. Again, the price indicated she was going to run well, and she did. Just moving forward, I think that's, if the tote board isn't as clear, that's what I would add. But I'll let you kind of touch on the race because, I mean, she was arguably one of the better performances of the whole weekend across the country, not just on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add about the race. It was just the Warlike Goddess show. I mean, this was just a show this horse put on. Another English Channel horse going long on the turf. That guy is unbelievable at throwing these long turf runners. I love English Channel. I love Warlike Goddess. Man, this was awesome. This was awesome. I kind of thought, and this is, you feel stupid after the race, but watching this unfold, it's like we got a loose leader. The pace is really nothing here. Warlike Goddess, man, might be in a little trouble. And then it's like they hit the turn. It's like, oh, it's over. Okay. That trouble. I mean, she flew by those horses like they were donkeys. I like this horse a lot moving forward. So I don't have a whole lot more to add to it other than this horse is just really, really, really good. So keep an eye on her for when she runs next. I'm sure we're going to see her down the road in some bigger races. All right. Race number, what race was this? This was number 8. Number 8 started off the 3 straight grade 1s in a row here at Saratoga, and they didn't really disappoint. They were 3 very good races. The test stakes, Bella Sophia bet down to 4-1 and looked like she was 1-5. Wins this thing by 4 1/4 lengths, stocked the pace and blew them out. Bella Sophia, is this a horse that can kind of take this victory and go on to bigger things like facing Olders in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question, right? Because we kind of knew what all the other horses were. I mean, search results was pretty bad, to be quite honest with you. What we've seen at Saratoga, in my opinion, has really decimated this group. Now, maybe Bella Sophia has the chance. I mean, she might be the best 3-year-old filly right now, to be quite honest, because we saw Malathot be vulnerable, even though the circumstances didn't set up well for her. We can admit that. The other issue, though, is we never really thought, in my opinion, this group was great. If we go back to February, March, April, we all kind of liked a few of the California runners, but we really, really liked that Louisiana group. I remember, we were like, this is great. We got Clairiere and a bunch of these horses coming in, and they've all really failed to stay in form. And it was kind of the Malathot show. Well, now we have a new shooter in here. And this is one thing I want to talk about analytics. And then, I have one other point. If you use time form, this horse had a 118. And she was the top pick on time form. Now, that's not to say you have to go by what time form says. But there's a reason that she had a 118 and she was the top choice. Again, we didn't use her on the group ticket. So at least we had some relaxation. I don't know what the word is. Some relief. I think the better word is relief. That we none of us liked her or this horse, and we lost. But it is what it is. I'm not sure what this group is because I've officially given up on Always Karina. I've been wrong now. I'll say I've been wrong this time for sure. I thought the Mother Goose, she wasn't as bad. This was clearly not good enough. But everyone else liked Obligatory. I didn't. I did like Make Mischief a touch. She was pretty bad. We didn't even have Super Sensational. So I think we got this race extremely wrong. I think Bella Sophia would be perfect for Malathot because she's going to want the lead and would give Malathot something to catch down the stretch. Kind of your essential quality Hot Rod Charlie type of setup. So maybe this is good for Malathot moving forward, but who knows?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I just feel like some of these horses just didn't fire. Like search results, I mean, yeah, maybe Bella Sophia is just too good that day, but search results can't even, outfinish Super Sensational, who was strong in this race, but that's a horse search results should beat. Your horse, Always Karina, is just not that good. I think we overrated her. What about Obligatory? That horse didn't do anything. What about Zagel? That horse didn't do anything. I mean, I just think it was a situation where Bella Sophia kind of freaked. The 101 buyer, obviously, I'm not going to take anything away from the winner. It was a fantastic performance. These other horses didn't fire, and maybe Bella Sophia just kind of ran them into the ground a little bit. Here's what's frustrating, and I'll go ahead and segue that to race 9. Our pick 5 went 4 out of 5, but we had this horse at 21-1. Let's talk about race 9, the Saratoga Derby. Like I said, another grade 1 event. We thought Europeans would be tough. European-based horses, I guess you could count the one still making a debut for Mott, that came over from Europe, first start in the United States. European-based horses finished 1-2 in this race, but it was the two higher-priced ones. State of Rest gets the job done, 21-1, won pretty easily, won by a length. What was your take on this one?
Well, let's start. I guess we could start with the 6. I want to start with the 6 for a minute.
Okay.
That, I don't know if you're going to agree, that was probably one of the most impressive fourth place finishes by I think I'm saying this right, Bolshoi Ballet. I'm going to try that. We had the culture conversation over the weekend, so I think it's Bolshoi. I don't think it's Bolshoi. Pretty sure no Irish person would call it Bolshoi, but so I'll try Bolshoi Ballet. This horse was getting pumped in the backstretch, which I've never seen a horse that's pumped that long managed to hold on for fourth. So congrats to Ryan Moore, because Ryan Moore earned fourth place with that one. But that was the horse that coming out of the, I believe, Belmont Derby, right? We kind of thought that was the horse to beat. Never really ended up that way. But the theme of the Irish bred, the theme of the Europeans really stood out here. I didn't like State of Rest at all. If it was up to me, we wouldn't have used this one on the group ticket. I did not use this on personal tickets. I'll be the first to admit. I didn't use the one Soldier Rising as well. I was really all in on the 6 and 7. I thought the 6 ran really, really well for having to get pushed that hard. I don't know what that was about. And you never, right, Aaron, you don't really seem to think that an Irish bred would have trouble in the backstretch. I mean,
No.
Pumped. Not like, getting an encouragement. I'm talking about like all out type of the 7 is a European bred. I don't care. The horse was bred here in the country, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a European bred. Secret Protector, Mike Smith for Charlie Appleby. I don't know what to make of this. When you have 3 horses, first of all, Dujour, no one gave any credit to. Mind you, he was the best American. And mind you, shocker, Joel Rosario does a pretty good job with a 10-1 on the turf. I don't know where people in the Racing Dudes went wrong there with Joel Rosario. We'll leave that for another time. I want to ask you, what do you make of this? When you have 3 double-digit odds horses, granted, 2 of them being European, what does that say about the 6, the 7, and the 4 Cadillac, who I know you liked? I did not like Cadillac, but what does it say about those horses? Or does this just now open up the door for more Europeans to, walk through that gate or push that gate down or push the door down? Because it seems like they come over here and they just win races. So I'm not really sure what to take of this. Maybe it was just a bad race for a few, but what do you think you take from all this?
Well, here's the deal. And this is, I'm always honest with people. This is it. When you don't know something, try to keep it as simple as possible. The bottom line is, all of us, unless you are up watching these European races every day, all of us don't know exactly what we're going to get when these European horses come over. It's very different over there than it is here. So I looked at this race as a whole and said, look, the Europeans are better than our horses, right? Just play them all and go on. Like, a lot of people were singling that 6. And I said, I get it. The horse looked pretty good last time out. I get it. The 6 certainly can win. I use the 6, but it's like, you don't know what the 9 is. You don't know what the 1 is. There was so much unknown here. And I just kept it simple and said, look, the European horses are better than ours. I'm going to play them and we'll see what we get. And that's kind of what happened, right? I mean, the 6, and I'll get to Dennis's comment here. Why is the 6 on the lead or close to the lead? I don't get it. I don't get why that happened. And it really just set it up because they were going pretty fast early. I don't know and Dennis said, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I do think, or I do know because I was standing right there watching them. They were going fast and it was a contested pace, right? It kind of just set it up for closers. Is the 9 a really good horse? I don't know. It just set up really well. The 1, I don't know. I mean, it's set up for closers. You look at the top 3 finishers here. They came from way out of it. So it was just a situation where the pace set up well. The 6 didn't show up. And then all of a sudden it came wide open, and the best closers in the race were Europeans. And, they finished 1-2 here. Dujour, I think, kind of showed that he's pretty decent again. Fourth last time out, third this time. I mean, he just kind of is what he is. He's probably the best horse we've got over here, but he's not going to beat European horses. And that's just kind of my take on it. I don't look at this race, and Dennis, I'll throw your comment up here about I want to bet back Soldier Rising. I think from the standpoint of second time out in the United States, we kind of got to gauge on how this horse is. But I don't look at any of these performances, just specifically the performance that happened, and want him back or are going to bet him back. It's just kind of going to depend on the situation. This was just a weird race. It's a weird race to get a read on, right?
I don't really know where I want to go. It is a weird situation for sure. It's just we're going to have the same issues, to be quite honest with you. We're going to have the same issue again when we see these horses again. So, for example, I just pulled up – sorry about my hair. I pulled up the 2020 results of the Saratoga Derby. Domestic Spending, Gaffoe, No Word, Colonel Liam, Decorated Invader, Bama Breeze, Field Pass, Get Smokin'. If we were to take that evidence, I guess we can put a lot of stock into this one. I don't know. And granted, none of those horses, maybe because of COVID, none of those were Europeans, I believe. I don't think I read a European off. So maybe that's what it is. But I don't know. Based on that evidence, some of those horses that have turned out to be good older horses. I mean, Domestic Spending is the best thing we have on the turf, and I think the best horse in the country. So I don't know. We're supposed to put stock into this, but we just saw 3 horses at double-digit odds finish 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. So I don't know. Like Bull Schwab LA, would you take him back at a short price? I don't know. And that's the interesting thing, right? Because Europeans supposed to do well. Like, do you fade? And the other thing you brought up, which I agree with, even if you are watching all these races from these other horses, they go like 45 wide into the course down the stretch. It's just completely different than it is here. So I don't know what to do with it. It's like that March Madness thing. You have a MAC team facing an ACC team. You don't really know sometimes. So yeah. I'm with you. I guess the theme is to just play the Europeans and hope you get one of them home.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did here. And it like I said, the pick 5 was out because of the 8th, but it did start a very nice saving pick 4 to end the day, or $800 for the guide. And once again, the guide struggles for the early part of the card for like the 5th straight time, and then kills it late, which is great. Everybody goes home happy, but it also makes for a very stressful first 7 or 8 races on these big cards, and I'm pissed. And then finally I go home happy. So I would love to get off to a better start. Don't think I'm doing that on purpose, anybody that's playing the guide. But anyway, let's go on to the main event. I've watched this race a lot, Ricky. Knicks Go was fantastic in this race. Believe whatever you want to believe about the horse, and I can't confirm or deny any of that, but this performance, for what it was absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about this one. Knicks Go wins this thing by 4.5 lengths. Seemed to be playing with the field to me the whole time, even down the stretch where they started to get closer. They were never going to threaten this horse. What do you think of Knicks Go?
Well, for starters, before I get into his performance, I've never seen a race with 5 horses, all with the odds, run in order. I've never seen that before. If you guys are looking at this, I'll read it off. 105. And then Maxfield 2.1, which is 2-1. Silver State 5.6. Swiss Skydiver 5.9, and by my standards 9.7. Never seen that before, so that's interesting on my end.
It's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap, but you don't go to Saratoga or to the track to save money. That's not the place to do it. Yeah, there's really not much to be said. This was truly dominant. I'm not sure if he's capable of repeating this. This might be arguably his best performance, is it maybe ever?
Yep.
No, I'm like, if he were able to do this pretty consistently, we're talking about an all-time horse. That's where I think people are going to get in trouble, because we used Maxfield, I believe, as well on our group ticket.
Mm-hmm.
we kind of knew once Knicks Go got going. I said this is the only horse in training that can start fast, run fast in the middle, and run fast at the end. Most horses just run fast early on if you're a speed horse. Run fast early on and just hope that everyone else tires out. This horse went fast the entire time. I mean, the final quarter was 12 and 4. I mean, that's extremely, extremely impressive after the first quarter was 23 and 2. So I'm not as high on him as you are, but with this performance, he is easily the best older horse in the country. Easily.
So,
and I'll just leave it before I throw it off. I'm just afraid that people are going to expect this type of performance moving forward. I don't know if we see him again before the Breeders' Cup. I would assume not. Maybe you can touch on it.
mm-hmm.
If he runs this again anywhere, no one's beating him. I'm just very reluctant because we've seen some bad performances, as maybe you could touch upon. He might be this price in the Breeders' Cup Classic, or maybe even shorter if we don't see him again. I would be very, very wary of that as a better moving forward.
3 points or 3 points of races where he's going to go next. We are going to see him one more time. That is the plan, at least. Who knows if that's going to actually happen. But the plan, according to Brad Cox, the Lucas Classic or the Awesome Again. One of those two races, Awesome Again being out at Santa Anita, Lucas Classic at Churchill Downs. And you may think, well, that's kind of a weird race to prep in. Well, he's based at Ellis, and then he'll go to Keeneland. And, so it's home for him, and it's just a prep for the bigger one. So the Lucas Classic makes sense for Knicks Go. As far as the race, Brad Cox said after the Met Mile, he was ready to run, but I think he just really likes to run around turns. And at Belmont Park, the mile is a one-turn race, number one. And if you've been to Belmont, those turns are very wide, very sweeping. I just think he hated Belmont. He gets to Prairie Meadows, two-turn race, and dominates. You want to talk about a horse that likes to run around turns, and when that is accurate, watch the first turn of this race. This was absolutely astonishing. A lot of people, including myself, said, why the hell did Irad take up Swiss Skydiver? She was right there with him going into the turn. Why did he pull her back? The answer is he did not pull her back. He didn't do anything different. Knicks Go just took off around the turn, and they couldn't run with him. There's a tower, kind of a clocker tower, right as you get off the first turn and into the backstretch. And Jared said before the race, he said, you see that tower over there? We'll know if the race is over when Knicks Go runs by that tower. If he's in front, and he's in front comfortably, and he's cruising, the race is over. That's the definition of being in front and cruising. He absolutely looked like a monster when he passed that tower. Of course, gets to the backside. Swiss Skydiver makes a move on him and quickly fades to fourth because she wanted no part of that. There was nobody going to catch him. Silver State looked like going to sneak up the inside again, but it couldn't make up the ground. Maxfield, I feel like his rider did the smartest thing to try to get second. He didn't really make a move into Knicks Go. He let the other two make moves, try to catch him. They both made the move and faded. And then at Maxfield, he said, okay, now we'll run for second. So I'll give Ortiz credit. I think he knew, hey, we're not getting to that horse. Let's get second. He rode a good race to get second. We learned about Maxfield. He's good, not great, I think. But he belongs in these kind of races. Silver State probably could say the same. Swiss Skydiver, going back to females, definitely. By my standards, just didn't run very well. He's better than that, but he doesn't belong with the top. But listen, this was an all-timer for me. I mean, a horse that's neck and neck with another horse and then just takes off. It dominates. That was a really good performance by Knicks Go.
Yeah, well, a few things that you mentioned that I don't necessarily disagree with, just want to touch upon. For people on Twitter that said Swiss Skydiver was the second best horse in the race, I'm here to say you are flat out wrong. And I've never said that before. I've never said that anyone is wrong. I might disagree. You are flat out wrong by thinking Swiss Skydiver was the best horse in the race. That's one. Two, I actually thought Silver State was better than Maxfield, even though the results just say that. And this was the point I made. Silver State made the first move, or Ricardo Santana made the first move. Maxfield waited. Then that's why I think Jose Ortiz, to your point, did a great job to get second place. That was a fantastic job. Because he waited longer, he ended up getting second. And to be honest, no one was catching him anyway. So I personally thought Silver State just made the move too quick. Maybe he could have gotten second. I thought they were pretty much about the same, to be quite honest with you. Maybe Maxfield is a slight touch better. But I think if Silver State waits and then Maxfield goes first, I think we have Silver State finishing second. The other thing is, oh no, you want to jump
That's
in?
why people say the same thing about Swiss Skydiver, because she made a move into him too, and then got passed. But the difference is Silver State stayed on and stayed in position and kept grinding, where Swiss Skydiver just went backwards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and mind you, Swiss Skydiver made that turn, I guess the first move into the first turn, everyone was fresh then. Silver State and Maxfield did it when everyone was Swiss, and by my standards, were already done. And mind you, Knicks Go was still going. So it had taken they had run like 9-10 furlongs by the time those horses started making moves, or 8 furlongs, whatever. Swiss did it after a half a furlong. So we talked about it. I know you agree with me. Swiss Skydiver was clearly not the second best horse in this race. I don't know what people are watching. If she gets back to like the Latruska Distaff, if Monomoy Girl does return, I think she can compete there. She cannot run against the boys. And that Preakness race against Authentic, probably more of a fluke at this point. And that was how many months ago now? We're talking, 10 months ago because of COVID. So, Knicks Go. I would just be very careful of bettors taking a horse at a short price that we know is vulnerable. That's one of the reasons we like Maxfield, or more because he's more consistent. Even though he's not better, Knicks Go is a little bit more like this. Even though on his best day he is better than everyone else, Maxfield is more of that consistent. So that's just something to keep an eye on moving forward. Before we move on to trainer, jockeys, all that type of stuff, real quick, I'll give you like 2 words or less. What price would you, if he doesn't run again, Lucas Classic, no Awesome again, this is it to the Breeders' Cup. What is the lowest price you'd be willing to take on him as a win bet going into
the answer is no idea, because he is all about what I'm going to get to here, because there's some comments that are going to highlight exactly why I say no idea. Let's get to him. Dennis doesn't take much out of the race, and he says, hey, if he was pressed, the outcome would be different. And then Jason, says, I was surprised nobody went with him. The problem is there was nobody in this specific race that could go with him. Swiss Skydiver could have went with him, but she would have had to be in an all-out ride to be up there with him. The factor with Knicks Go, whether it's the Lucas Classic or whether it's the Breeders' Cup, if there's a horse that can naturally run with him early, he's in trouble. So if there's a horse in the race, the Breeders' Cup day, I'm not going to take 5-1 on Knicks Go, because I think the horse is in some trouble. If there's no speed in the race, I'll take even money on Knicks Go in the Classic, because all the rest of them are in trouble. It's very much, and listen, it's going to take a really good horse to run with him, because he can run really fast for a really long time. It's going to take a Hot Rod Charlie type to run with him. And I mean that for the other fact of, not only is it going to take a fast horse, it's going to take a horse that's good as well. Like a rabbit might bother him for a couple furlongs, but he's going to just toss him out. So someone could send a rabbit, but they better send, a higher class rabbit. You can't send a claimer out there. So that's my answer to your question. I can't do it in 2 words, because there's not a good answer when it comes to this horse. He's either going to be a lock, in my opinion, or he's going to be in some trouble. There's no in between. And it was the same here. If he gets the lead, he's going to win. If he gets pressed somehow, something happens, he's going to finish 5th. I still believe that. But where I think people don't give horses like him enough credit, or discredit his wins too strongly, it takes a really talented horse for me to say those kind of things about him. Like, yeah, they gave him the lead, but nobody can go with him. Nobody has the ability that he has in these races a lot of times. That's what's happened.
So, and that's why, I guess we could I'll wrap it up here before we get to the jockey trainer stuff, trainer jockey, whatever. That's why he's not an all-time great for me. because the fact that we still have these vulnerabilities, fair to your point, that's what doesn't make him an all-time great. Because there were horses, we can go through years past that no matter what happened, you just knew they were going to find a way to win. And we still have those reservations. He's a great horse. I'm talking like you can write the book of horse racing history and he doesn't have to be at the top of your list.
Yeah.
You can't do it with Zenyatta. You can't do it with American Pharaoh. You can't do it with Justify. You'd be missing out a chapter. I don't know if you're missing a chapter of horse racing history if you didn't include Knicks Go. So that's why I think that's the point. That's why I say, to your point, he's so vulnerable as we move forward.
He's a one-trick pony. There's no question about it. And that was like the Pharaohs, of the world, that he was able to sit off when he needed to sit off, and he would go to the lead when he needed to go to the lead. This horse, there's no guessing. There's nothing. He has to go to the front, and you have to come get him, and you have to come pressure him, and it's just tough for those other horses to do it when they're just not naturally as fast as him, because there's not many horses going 2 turns that are as fast as this horse. So, he provides a huge problem in a race when he enters, whether it's from a handicapping standpoint or whether you have the other horses in the race, right?
Yeah,
it's a big problem, right? And that's there's something to be said for that. This horse is really talented. That's why he provides those problems every single time he enters. It's just like, oh God, he's in the race. We can't let him go. And then you look at your horse and you're like, well, shit, I can't run with him early. What are we supposed to do? I suggested, hey, Asmussen, you got 100 horses on the backside. Throw a fast one in there and just see what happens. There's a 5-horse field. You might as well try it. But, he didn't go that route.
Yeah, if you have, before we wrap it up, if he thinks he's got like a non-graded stakes winner type of horse that can run, that, if you're the connections and could be in the Breeders' Cup, that's kind of where it would make sense. But again, you can't throw an allowance, you can't throw a claimer, because those horses will fade after 3 furlongs.
What do you think? Will his feet be in the irons at the Classic?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. They were in the stirrups today. Or
last comment. There was a couple of Swiss comments. Well, I'll get to this because it's funny. Dita says turf next time out for Swiss. Jason summed it up. It was a bad spot, but it really isn't McPeak's fault. The horse he wanted to run the horse in the Chevy, couldn't because the barn was in quarantine. It was just a bad spot. She got a race under her belt. She's going to face her own kind next time, and she'll probably be just fine. So it's just one of those things. Bad circumstances. So, all right, let's move on to my favorite segment of the show, the current trainer standings. That's right. So we are 19 days in, so 21 days left, almost the halfway point. Wednesday will be the halfway point. Mike Maker's still in the lead with 16 wins. Chad Brown sneaking up with 14. Last week we talked about, Maker's got almost as many starts as Chad. Not anymore. Maker with 57 starts. Chad was 78. I think you said last week you thought Chad might not win this thing. How about now?
I really wish I really wish this would change. I wish they had, how many days are there in the meet? 40?
40 days.
You need 40, in my book, you need 40 starters. So you have to average 1 starter or maybe 2 starts per day to get to 80. And then let's go by win percentage.
Yeah.
At that point, because this is like Chad Brown's firing just so many more shots. He should win. And mind you, we've been talking about this for a long time, and then I'll let you talk about it. I don't have too much to add other than there were a lot of short prices so far that have not gotten home.
Yep.
And it's not like you get a trainer award based on it's not like the college football playoff. Like you get ranked by a committee or a group of people. This is just how many wins. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. How many wins do you get? That's it. Yep. So as far as I'm concerned, I think Mike Maker would win trainer of the meet award through the halfway point if you had people to vote on it. I think that's fair. Or maybe Asmussen. I'd probably say Mike Maker, but it's like we know Chad Brown's going to gobble. It's like Chad Brown's like domestic spending and Mike Maker's like Colonel Liam. I mean, you just know he's coming. So it's sad because I really think Mike Maker He'll never have a shot like he has now to win it, and he's still going to lose. So I have nothing else to add.
Yeah. So with Chad, a couple of things, and I totally agree with your comments, 1,000%. By the way, I'll just piggyback off that. But just to go on to a different point, 14 wins, he's 2 behind, 20 seconds now. I mean, that's the thing, and you said it. Some short prices haven't come home. You know, sometimes it's like, boy, he should have won that race, or he could have won that race. It just didn't break right. He's a little bit of luck away from being like 8 ahead of everybody right now. So
you need luck, right? If you're Mike Maker to actually win the thing, you do need some of his horses to run poorly. But I said earlier before, I'm not giving him credit for second place finishes when his horses finished second at 3 to 5. Like in my book, you're not getting credit for that. So just because he has the stats doesn't mean I'm going to give you credit for it. And how about Asmussen, who's gotten a lot of luck? 44 starts, 11 wins, only 2 seconds. I'm sure there were a bunch of those that could have been seconds as well. So you can go at it for multiple. Or Linda Rice, who has 9 seconds, 8 thirds. So she's finished in the money 21 times. Only 4 of those have been winners.
Yep.
But there are a lot of seconds. So you can kind of really break it down. But again, it's sad that it's not voted on by a group of people, because I think Mike Maker would have won it if it was voted on like that.
Yeah, Mike Maker still having a very good meet, hitting at 28%. A couple other guys, well, Todd Pletcher right there, as always, in striking distance. Steve Asmussen, 11 for 44 at 25%. He's having a fantastic Saratoga meeting. How about Brad Cox? 9 for 23, 39%. 65% in the money. His horses are firing. And, of course, he's won some damn big races, the Jim Dandy and now the Whitney. So he's winning the races everybody wants to win. So, and then, you kind of go down the list, and there's your regulars, the Clements, the Motts, right there having a good meet as well. Very solid list of trainers here. But, my pick was Chad Brown before, and I'll stick with him another week. He still is not – I don't think he's been in front as we've had a show yet, but I still think that's going to change. All right, let's go to this, and I think a big upset is brewing here. Let's go to the jockeys. How about this? Luis Saez now 7 races ahead of Jose Ortiz. Luis Saez, 35 wins. Jose Ortiz, 28. Irad down with 26. My preseason pick not looking great. He's down 9 races. Can Luis Saez hold on to this thing?
Well, if Mike Maker is going to roll this way, then the answer is yes. I mean, I never thought I'd say that. I never thought Luis Saez would have this many mounts, to be quite honest. He's definitely got a better shot than Mike Maker to hold on, because Mike Maker is not going to have a horse in every race, being that he's not even stabled in New York full time. Luis Saez definitely, because he's getting like some Cox mounts too, and he's so he's getting good. Brad Cox has only brought the best of the best here, clearly, that based on his winning percentage. I think Saez is going to hold on. I do, and that's sad because I had Jose Ortiz, you had Irad, so we're pretty much a 2-race difference there. I mean, it's Saez in a tier of his own. Then you have the Ortizes, and then you have Joel, Tyler, Ricardo, and I'm going to throw my boy in Ricardo. Jose Lezcano in that next tier, and then kind of everyone else. But Saez is kind of running away with it. Before you go, another shout out to Jose Lezcano, right? Because this guy, let's be realistic. If we were to lay this out, and we just gave everyone the top 15 the top 15 jockeys, we would have said rank them. Jose Lezcano would probably be no higher than 7. That's exactly where he sits. So in terms of expectations, I'm pretty sure he's got an A+ at this meet, which I said that at the beginning, though. This is a guy to keep an eye on. 45% in the money, that's ahead of Tyler, that's ahead of Ricardo, and I can guarantee you the prices are through the roof compared to what those two are getting. If he were to go to, I say, before you go, if you were to go to Del Mar right now, so at the beginning, beginning of the meet, I firmly believe he could make a case to be the second best rider. I think Pratt's in a different group by himself. I don't know if he's that much worse than Rispoli. I'll be quite honest, or Joe Bravo. He kind of gets buried on the depth chart. But those are kind of my thoughts on this whole thing. I think Saez will hold on, but I'm hoping Jose can catch him.
Yeah, it's really. I'll say Jose Lezcano. You've been spot on. We kind of had Jose Lezcano versus Manny Franco talk, earlier, and they're right there together in the standings. But Lezcano's riding a lot better than Franco. Franco's had more mounts. Look at to your point, top 3 percentage. Lezcano 45%, Franco 24%. I mean, that's not any good, flat out. So yeah, Lezcano is having a great meet. I'm with Jason. I think Luis Saez is going to move on. I think this is our hold on. I should say this is a really good comment for our question or comment, either one. How much as an improvement has Saez been since having McLaughlin, obviously Kiera McLaughlin as his agent now, former trainer? The results have been pretty good. So I'm going to say it's been good, right? I mean, how can you argue with that one? Yeah,
well, it's nice when you're getting all the Brad Cox, Mike Maker mounts. That's. I'm not saying it's not the jockey agent, but if Luis Saez knew that these are the types of horses that he was going to be getting, I think he would have told you that these are his expectations. So again, Brad Cox has brought what did we say, like 23 runners? I mean, so he's getting all those because Jose and Irad are getting the Browns and the Pletchers and the Bilmonts, maybe, I don't know, just more Clements, more that's usually Joel, but yeah, I think Saez has gotten the best 2 out-of-town trainers outside maybe Asmussen, who's Ricardo's. But it's an interesting thing. I mean, Saez definitely has a better chance to hold on than Mike Maker. I think even Mike Maker would tell you that. So what about I'll throw this to you. Anyone from we'll throw Ricardo in the top group for the sake of the conversation. 7 through the rest. So I don't know how far down you want to go. But is there anyone that's been really and Pratt doesn't really count, to be honest. But anyone from that 7 through, like, let's say 15, because a lot of those are steeplechase. Anyone that's surprising you on a good or a bad note before we move on?
I mean, Junior Alvarado's 3 for 63. That's pathetic.
Not great.
John Velasquez 4 for 63. That's not good either. So he's having a rough meet. From a good standpoint, I mean, Dylan Davis is having a nice little meet, right?
I was going to say Dylan Davis, yeah. I think winning at 12%, 38% in the money is pretty good. If you told Dylan Davis you're going to have better numbers across the board than Javier Castellano, he probably would have thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
Quite honest with you. So I was just about to say, I think Dylan Davis, where he is pretty good. I think he would take that. There's nothing wrong with finishing in the money close to 40% of the time. 702,000 in purse earnings. So I was going to say the same thing. I think Dylan Davis is doing a great job.
So to wrap up the jockey talk, I want to talk about the agent real quick. I had my good friend who's in the horse racing industry come over, and we were talking. I'm not going to name the names of the jockeys that I was talking about because I just don't want to do that. But I was kind of saying, this guy really isn't that good. How is he winning? And how is he, how is he getting the mounts? And why is he hooked up with the guys he's hooked up with? Like, he's not any good. And he said the jockey agent makes such a big difference. So the talk about the jockey agent, I think Dennis and Charles, you brought it up. Jason may brought it up too. It makes a huge difference is the answer, and we kind of talked about some horses that his family had used over the years. And he's like, yeah, we just had a really good relationship with the jockey agent. We trusted him. We trusted that he wouldn't lie to us and take off a horse of ours. And then his rider was just okay. So we just used him, and it's just like that kind of really plays into it. And the final thing to Nick's point, agree. Saez being aggressive wins a lot of races. And I think that's a great point. And Junior stinks so bad right now. Yeah, after a great, and I mean great Gulfstream meet, he's pretty bad right now. So yeah, but he's still my boy. Still love Junior. He's gonna come around. Big second half, Nick. Big second half. Look out for Junior. Maybe not, but all right. So we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. This week is the 4-Star Dave and the Saratoga Special. That's the 2 big ones. I didn't put the probables up. They're ever changing. Every time I look, it's a little bit different. So I didn't really want to throw up horses that it's like they're not going to run because we've kind of done that in the last couple of weeks. 4-Star Dave, what you need to know about it, very good prep race for the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. Year in and year out, that there's some, whether they win or they run really well there at a price, those 4-Star Dave runners, keep an eye out for that. Saratoga special. I don't think we'll see Witt. I think he will wait for the hopeful, but still some interesting prospects going to line up. We'll cover those 2 races on Friday, in depth as we go through the stakes action. What are you looking forward to this weekend? Just those 2, or you got something else cooking?
No. It's I don't want to say a smaller weekend, but one of the smaller ones. It's never small at Saratoga, but definitely one of the smaller ones. Unfortunately, not everyone's the Whitney. For the schedule purposes, it's funny you brought up Friday. I'm going up there on Friday, so we're gonna have to. We might need a guest. We'll have to see. Tomorrow's fine. Thursday is fine. You're double booked though tomorrow. What time is your college football preview or sports preview or whatever we got cooking?
I think the Dudes Who Bet Sports podcast number 1 will probably be at after this show tomorrow, probably 1-ish o'clock Eastern time, or maybe 2-ish Eastern time. We'll see. So have you given any thought, before we wrap up, I have to go in a few minutes. Have you given any thought to the Halterman Hour as a name? And if you haven't, is it a good name? Off the top of my head, I hadn't thought about it. I like your name, but just the Halterman Hour, really like 2 Halterman or something like that. We have this. It's funny. And if you've got a good name for this show as we go, suggest it, and we might change it, because we have debated on a name for this show for months. What you got to realize when you're building a website, it takes months for it to actually get going. So we've been working on this for months, and we thought about it, and we just couldn't come up with anything any good. We don't really like Dudes Who Bet. We really don't. But it's like, it's better than the other crap that we'd come up with. The Halterman Hour, it's not going to be that. I don't like it. The Rocket Hour flows. Yeah. The Halterman Hour is like, it's a little clunky.
Well, if there wasn't already something called the Hour, maybe it would be a little better. It is tough to have 2 hours. You know what? I'm just going to give myself credit for off the cusp. Like, hadn't thought about it. Didn't even know you guys had a name. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would be a good idea. If anyone has an idea to throw to name one, maybe if whoever gets the name will be like the first guest or something. I don't know. You could figure that out with your dad, but that'll be interesting.
It's gonna be an interesting show from the standpoint of, and you've seen my dad on some of the live shows. He'll say anything basically. So what will he say on? Kind of his own show. I mean, it's kind of, him and I are going to start it off. And like you said, we're going to have the other guys on like college basketball. You might be on every week, like Ricky, so clear your schedule, and you watch all the other sports too. I'm sure we'll have plenty of guests, but yeah, to start it off, we'll see. We'll see. Cashing checks and breaking necks. It's funny. We had kind of we played with the word cash for a long time, and it's just like, never could quite get there. So, yeah.
Well, since I have to go, if you see any pictures, all the pictures, by the way, this past weekend were from Jared or Aaron. 0 of them. That's not true. I maybe gave 1.
Yeah.
Picture. If we have any pictures on site, I promise I have full data this month. I was telling Aaron I don't have I don't have unlimited data. So I'm going to have full data back. We're at a full 10 gigs, sharing it with the family plan. So we are going to be back. I will take all the pictures needed as long as the Naira Wi-Fi cooperates. So that is my pledge of allegiance to everyone who follows. So the pictures will come from me. I promise I'm going to take some good pictures. I'll be walking around the paddock, and I'll see what I can come up with.
The dudette is here in the office with me, and she's just laughing, shaking her head like, you don't have unlimited data? Like, what? I don't.
Well, I'm just happy I could put a smile on Heather's face before noon. That was, if she's listening and she's in the room or can hear it in the background, I'm happy I could do that and provide some excitement and some laughter on Tuesday morning.
She just said she loved you. So. All right, Ricky's got to get out of here. We know that. Last comment, Jason's comment. Once you hit a certain age, there's no more filter. He's hit that age, Jason, so that's another reason to watch the Dudes Who Bet. What will my dad say? Maybe that'll be a segment. What is my dad going to say today? So I don't know. Well, we'll definitely be working on that kind of stuff and making that thing. We're gonna try to keep the personalities, big on that show and have a lot of fun with it like we do here. So, all right, guys. Thank you, Charles, for tuning in, and thank everybody for tuning in. And always, your guys' comments. I told Jason, we met Jason at Saratoga, very nice guy. It was great chatting with you, and like I told him, what makes this show great are the comments. You guys always make the show awesome. So thank you for tuning in. Right back here tomorrow covering Late Pick 4 at Saratoga. We'll see you guys then. And also check out racingdudes.com/sports today.